The station was an obsidian disk suspended in dead space, orbiting the corpse of a collapsed star. Its reflective surface shimmered faintly with artificial atmospheres and overcompensation. Inside, the council chamber smelled of disinfectant, status, and quiet arrogance. They had gathered 13 species, some slithering, others floating, one entirely comprised of whirring cubes. Together, they represented 97% of mapped galactic influence. The remaining 3% was currently under diplomatic review. Earth, specifically. Humanity had been quiet. Too quiet. Grand Exarch Trisk of the Arxolian matriarchy hissed as he adjusted his ceremonial spines. She is late. She is human, drawled Chancellor Vern of the Orkesh Dominion, adjusting his fourth monocle with a tentacle. Tardiness is how they display power. Like children throwing rocks at the moon. A dozen dignitaries chuckled. The only one who didn't was a lean, glitter-eyed diplomat from the Theran Accord, who whispered to no one in particular. Or perhaps they don't throw. Perhaps they land. The doors parted with a soundless breath. She entered alone. No guards. No entourage. Not even a datapad. Just a woman in black. Black boots polished to reflection, black gloves, a black cloak clasped at her throat like something out of a winter myth. Her silver hair was neatly braided down one side. In one hand, she carried a porcelain teacup. In the other, absolutely nothing. Her face betrayed no emotion. No weariness. No worry. No weapons. "Thank you for waiting," she said. Her voice was calm water. Unshaken. Unhurried. "Is that tea?" One of the gelatinous members burbled. "Yes," she said, taking a gentle sip. "Jasmine. Would you like some?" The Orkesh Chancellor snorted. "Is this how your species negotiates terms of surrender? With flowers in a cup?" She smiled. It was brief, and it didn't touch her eyes. "Only when we wish to remember the scent of patience." The Exarch flared a throat sac in warning. "You will address this body with proper deference. This is not Earth. This is Sovereign Assembly." Her eyes swept the chamber once. Not dismissive, just taking measure. "No," she agreed softly. "This isn't Earth. That's why there's still time." A pause. Just long enough to be uncomfortable. "Time for what?" asked the Theran envoy, more curious than hostile. "For you," she said, "to adjust your tone." A cube clicked sharply beside her. One of the Xanthid algorithmics rotated mid-air. "Your species has sent a civilian. Is this to amuse us? We've charted 57 war zones initiated by human colonies in the last 30 cycles. Not once have you appeared for discourse." "I'm not a civilian," she replied, brushing an invisible fleck from her cloak. "I am what comes after discourse fails." The room shifted. Not physically, gravitational stabilizers held, but something in the air turned colder. Less self-assured. "I believe," murmured the insectoid envoy from Calvis, "we've made an error." Baba Yaga smiled wider this time. Still cold. Still calm. "There's always one of you," she said. "The one who feels the storm before it lands." The Exarch's voice snapped like broken glass. "Are you threatening a galactic council?" "I haven't moved," she replied mildly, finishing her tea and placing the cup gently on the edge of the council table. "You invited me." Vern's nostrils flared. "We invited a delegate, not a ghost in leather." "Leather?" she echoed, glancing at her cloak. "Oh, no. This is armor. It just doesn't look like yours." The gelatinous ambassador blinked. "What is your name, human?" She looked at him gently. "I have many," she said. "But for today, you may call me Baba Yaga." 3 species recoiled audibly. The Xanthid cube pulsed red. The Earth myth. The child killer. The forest witch. She inclined her head. "Not quite accurate. But you're close. You expect us to take you seriously?" Vern sneered. "You are a woman with folklore in her mouth and no fleet to back her. I never said I had no fleet, she answered. I simply said I came alone. The insectoid leaned forward, antennae trembling. She's stalling. Buying time. Time for what? The exarch spat. Baba Yaga's eyes lingered on the table centerpiece, a crystalline orb that pulsed with faint signatures of galactic peacekeeping codes. For them to arrive, she said. The table flickered. A silent alert flared in the orbital defense arrays. A signal. Distant. Quiet. But impossible to falsify. 12 fleets. Unregistered. Silent. Stealth configured. Moving across the rim systems like shadows wearing armor. 120,000 ships. No banners. No insignia. Just a single identifier on each hull, a black spiral coiling inward. The orbital technician monitoring incoming logs dropped her datapad. Back in the chamber, a diplomat stood. His voice shook. You're bluffing. She turned to him, slow and deliberate. Do you know, she said, what humans do before war? He opened his mouth. She didn't let him answer. We write letters. We take photographs. We bake casseroles and kiss children goodnight. We gather. Not armies. Memories. She leaned forward slightly. Not aggressive. Just enough to make the distance between her and the rest of them feel like a decision. And then we do what the stars learned not to expect. We endure. We calculate. We wait. You're still bluffing. Vern cried, rising with a roar. We would have seen. You didn't, she said simply. Because you were too busy laughing. The Theran diplomat rose slowly. He no longer looked confused. He looked like someone who had been warned about fire, and had only now smelled the smoke. You let us take the first shot, he said quietly. She didn't deny it. Another diplomat stammered. But why? Why hide? Why play dead for decades? Her voice was low now, measured. No emotion. No cruelty. Just facts dressed as poetry. Because, she said, sometimes silence is the last kindness we offer. There was a pause. And then her glove clicked something beneath the table. A faint beep. Above them, on every exterior surface of the council chamber, the galactic seal vanished. Replaced by a single message. Earth acknowledges receipt of invitation. Humanity has read the terms. Humanity declines. Vern charged her, teeth bared, ceremonial blade unsheathed. He didn't make it to her cloak. A quiet shimmer passed through the air like heat off pavement. He froze mid-step, then fell, spasming, his blade clattering uselessly beside him. The insectoid diplomat looked around wildly. She didn't move. She didn't even touch him. No, whispered Baba Yaga, stepping around the body without looking. But your chair did. The council delegates recoiled in confusion. Nano-weave. Her tone was almost instructional. Disguised as upholstery. Activated only by kinetic intent. Earth invented it while waiting for you to notice we never sent politicians. The gelatinous one melted half his mass in fear. What are you? She looked at her empty teacup, held it aloft as if weighing something invisible inside. I am the reply, she said. And then she smiled again, gently, softly. The polite one. Silence is rarely quiet. In a room where fear begins to circulate, it takes on a sound, like breath behind walls, like footsteps you're not sure are yours. That was the silence now. Thick. Watching. The delegates stared at the body of Chancellor Vern, who lay limp beside his ceremonial blade, the blade itself now blackened at the hilt, the metal corrupted by whatever had pulsed from the nano-weave. A few of the cube-based xanthid blinked out of phase, disturbed not by death, but by the failure to predict it. No contact. No weapon. No movement, murmured the Theran diplomat again, his voice reverent now. I touched nothing, Baba Yaga said softly. But I adjusted everything. The exarch stood trembling, not from fear, yet, but from the unraveling of assumptions. This was to be a council of reason. Reason. Baba Yaga tilted her head. You demanded surrender before you asked if we wanted war. From the far end of the chamber, one of the mechanical arbiters, a rust-toned prism who hadn't spoken yet, clicked through its translation modules. Your presence here is inconsistent with the Treaty of Passive Races. Humanity was listed as non-expansionist. We didn't expand, she said. We remembered. There's a difference. Remembered what? Asked the insectoid diplomat. Her gaze drifted to the marble beneath their feet. It was polished to perfection, an ancient technique known on Earth as political distraction. Shine the floor, dim the threat. She said nothing for a moment. And then, let me tell you a story. One of the delegates snorted. She ignored him. There was a man on Earth, she said, her tone quiet, who walked into a courtroom wearing a suit 3 sizes too small. He had stolen it. He wore it anyway. On the stand, he was asked why he killed the people he did. He looked the judge in the eyes and said, "Because they never thought I would." A flicker passed through the room like a shared shiver. Not at the story. At the way she told it. As if that courtroom was the chamber they were standing in. As if the judge had been someone not unlike the Exarch. "We've been quiet," Baba Yaga said. "Polite. We sent ambassadors. We followed protocols. We drank what you offered and smiled through the surveillance." The gelatinous delegate stammered. So you were planning this?" She chuckled, just once. Not loud. Not warm. "No. You planned this. We just built the insurance." The floor shifted. Only slightly. Just enough to register as something a perfectly designed diplomatic chamber should not do. A few of the more panicked delegates reached for their communications bands. Useless. Silent. A screen blinked to life, unbidden. A feed, grainy and yellow-toned, depicting a vast hangar, somewhere cold, from the breath clouds rising in the background. Rows of human soldiers. Silent. Still. Helmets off. Eyes open. "Who are they?" hissed a delegate. "Not soldiers," Baba Yaga said. "Not exactly. Just the first ones who woke up." Another screen activated. This one showed a cafeteria in an alien colony. Ruthin 4, identified by the signage. A cookbot wheeled past trays. One tray had a folded napkin, drawn on in child's handwriting, "We know." Another screen. A warehouse. A single human child, no older than 10, holding a stuffed toy and looking straight at the camera. He waved. Behind him, a crate opened. It was full of neural disruptors, alien tech, stripped, modified, humanized. A fourth screen activated without her touch. It showed the diplomatic welcome gift Earth had sent each attending empire 2 cycles ago. A pen. Elegant. Non-functional. The message engraved, "We hope you write kindly." The xanthid cube rotated sharply. "You bugged them. You booby-trapped diplomatic gifts." "Of course not," Baba Yaga said mildly. "We listened. We learned. The bugs were already in your systems. The pens were just polite. You embedded operatives." The Exarch snarled. She looked up at him slowly. "I embedded Girl Scouts." The room blinked with shared horror. "You didn't see it because you didn't think we had the patience," she continued. "You thought war would come with banners and brass. You didn't imagine we'd sit through 3 decades of being condescended just to see the look on your faces now." Another delegate tried to stand. His knees buckled. The floor had shifted again. Not visibly, but perceptibly. The Theran diplomat's skin turned a dull gray-green. "We're standing on something." "Correct," Baba Yaga said, and for the first time, her voice carried something deeper. Pride, maybe. Or warning. "It looks like marble. It is not. It is memory. It's the combined surface of 3 generations of listening. You stood on it because you thought we were beneath you." One of the screens zoomed in on the floor. Beneath the marble slats, a layer of pulsating dark veins. Code. Weaponized nanofiber. Alive. Recording. "What is it?" asked the gelatinous one. The trapdoor, she whispered. Panic bloomed. A few delegates rose, too quickly, stumbling into one another. No exits, she said softly. You sealed the chamber when I arrived. For security, you said. For diplomacy. The exarch bared his teeth. What do you want? I want you to realize, she said, walking slowly to the center of the room, that you do not negotiate with humans by counting ships. You negotiate by counting seconds. And you ran out of those 12 minutes ago. He lunged. A blade extended from a hidden joint in his forearm. The blade stopped in mid-air, frozen, pixelating. A section of the floor vanished, silently. In its place, darkness, depth. The exarch fell into it, screaming. No impact. Just gone. The gelatinous delegate collapsed in on himself. You said you weren't here to kill us, one whispered. I'm not, she said. Another panel on the wall lit up, a countdown. 8 minutes and 19 seconds. 8 minutes and 18 seconds. 8 minutes and 17 seconds. What happens when it ends? Asked the Theron. Depends, Baba Yaga said, on how many of you are still here. You mean to let us leave? I mean, she said, you'll have the choice to leave. Most of you won't take it. Pride is a nasty survival trait. The Xanthid clicked nervously. And what if we surrender? Surrender? Her eyes flicked upward. You think this is about surrender? The screen shifted again, now showing colonies burned, children lost in alien raids, treaties broken, aid denied. No, she said. This isn't a war. It's a reply. You spoke first. We were listening. She turned her back on them then. Fully. Without fear. The countdown hit 7 minutes. Baba Yaga paused near the door, her hand brushing it gently. The panel read, locked. She didn't press anything. It just opened for her. Before stepping out, she looked over her shoulder once, and her voice softened, not kind, not cruel. Simply human. You all looked at Earth and thought, why don't they fight back? She smiled faintly. But we were just remembering who we are. And then she was gone. The door closed. The countdown continued. And for the first time in their long, storied dominance of the stars, the most powerful creatures in the galaxy felt small. The chamber no longer felt like a diplomatic hall. It felt like a slow-burning mausoleum. The air was thicker, clinging to skin like a whisper of ash. The countdown on the wall ticked downward with the indifference of a metronome. 3, 2, 1. No one spoke for a long while. Then, slowly, the Theron diplomat stepped toward the center where Baba Yaga had stood. He looked at the still open hatch in the floor, where the exarch had vanished. No sound. No echo. Just a hole cut clean into nowhere. She's left us alive on purpose, he said. The gelatinous ambassador trembled, body rippling like liquid nerves. Why? To torment. No, said the insectoid. To see who begs and who bites. Then we bite, growled one of the cubiform Xanthid, flashing red, signaling war. Do you think that's wise? Murmured the Theron. No, the cube admitted, but neither is waiting. Lights flickered. Once. Then again. A third time. Longer. Not flickers of failure, but transition, shadows moving behind glass. Something outside was adjusting. The chamber's marble floor dimmed. And then, softly, the doors reopened. Not the entrance Baba Yaga had used. The opposite side. A walkway extended into a dark corridor, empty and curving away into unknowns. It pulsed faintly, as if the station itself were alive now and waiting for an answer. A delegate took a step forward. He made it exactly 3 paces before a sharp snap cracked across the chamber like a rifle discharged in silence. His left leg gave out. He fell screaming. Not dead. Not bleeding. Just disarmed. Paralyzed. The floor glowed beneath him, shifting into a message. Observation request denied. They all turned. The gelatinous one whimpered, "We are not delegates anymore. We're specimens." That's when the walls changed. Screens once used for planetary maps and policy proposals now revealed something else. Angles, infrared scans, heart rate monitors. Inside the chamber. Being tracked, logged, recorded. Their fear was a data point. Their pulse, a signature. And then came the sound. Boots. Not from the corridor. Not from the outside. From below. The trapdoor glowed. And from its darkness came a rise, like an elevator made of night, carrying upwards not death, but history. 12 humans. Each in matte black armor, no markings. Faces uncovered. Young, old, male, female, yet every expression was identical. Calm, unreadable, unhurried. Their boots struck the floor in perfect synchrony. The gelatinous delegate oozed backwards, voice quivering. "Are they here to execute us?" The lead human raised her hand. The soldiers stopped. Then she looked at the xanthid cube and said, in a voice like folded paper, "We're here to translate." "To what?" the insectoid asked. She reached into her coat, pulled out a single, folded sheet, placed it on the table with careful precision. "To Galactic High Council. The redefinition of humanity. Subject. Terms of coexistence." The xanthid pulsed blue, confused. "We are being offered terms?" The woman nodded. "Not by us. By her." "Baba Yaga," murmured the Theran diplomat. "She left you behind to speak for her." "She left," the woman corrected, "so you wouldn't mistake silence for weakness again." The screens flashed again, now showing the fleet. 120,000 ships. Positioned not around planets, but above them. No weapons fired. No threats made. Just a presence. Watchful. Immediate. "She could have destroyed us," someone muttered. "She still might," said the woman. "She doesn't believe in almost." The Theran stepped closer. "Why the hesitation, then? Why show us mercy?" The soldier shrugged. "She believes mercy is the loudest threat." The countdown ticked under 3 minutes. The cube clicked. We were wrong. Everyone turned. We assumed humanity was behind. Primitive. Disorganized. The woman nodded. "You were half right. We were behind." Then we started writing names. The gelatinous delegate asked, "Names of what?" "Planets. Ships. Casualties. Promises." The human soldier leaned in, tone conversational, almost friendly. "You ever write a name on a wall? That's a human thing. It means we want to remember. Means we want someone to answer for forgetting." Another soldier stepped forward. "You didn't notice when we stopped expanding. That wasn't failure. That was focus." "You watched our wars and called them chaos," added another. "We called them practice." "You thought our children soft," said a third, "but they were studying. And not just your language." The walls brightened. Now each screen showed images, brief, silent clips. A child helping an injured alien on a refugee station. A farmer sharing food with a lost Orkesh pilot. A rescue team in storm gear carrying cube fragments out of fire. Kindnesses. Documented. Ignored. "These were your tests," said the lead soldier. "You watched us for civility, for peace. You never realized we were watching back, for judgment." The insectoid knelt, his legs too brittle to stand upright anymore. "Then, we failed." The human smiled softly, not cruelly, but not kindly, either. "That's not my decision." Another voice spoke, from nowhere, from everywhere. It was Baba Yaga's. "I gave you a door," it said. All eyes turned to the corridor. The screens blacked out, all but one. It read, "Decision due. 1 minute." The gelatinous delegate turned to the corridor, quivering. "Is this real? Do we leave?" The soldier said nothing. just stepped aside. The cube blinked rapidly. What happens if we stay? The soldier answered with unsettling gentleness. You learn a different definition of silence. The countdown hit 30 seconds. Then 20. Then 10. The Theran diplomat looked at the gelatinous delegate. At the xanthid. At the insectoid, still kneeling. He made his choice. He walked toward the corridor. The gelatinous followed. The cube, reluctantly. Only 3 stayed. As the others crossed the threshold, the corridor began to close, curling like petals on a metal flower. They didn't run. They didn't look back. Inside the chamber, the lights dimmed. 3 delegates remained. And the soldiers? They didn't speak. They didn't aim. They simply turned, one step in perfect unison. Boots striking marble. The countdown hit. 1 second. Midnight. And the chamber floor vanished. There was no noise when the floor disappeared. Just the hush of vacuum, a blink of engineered gravity displacement, and the kind of silence that isn't silence at all. It's intent. Alive. Waiting. The 3 remaining delegates didn't fall. They hovered. Held. Suspended in a shaft that shimmered with particle-thin lines of blue light. Stabilizers, calibrated to human precision, kept them still, vertical, helpless, and absolutely unharmed. They did not scream. They simply understood. That was worse. Above, the council chamber was gone. The marble had retracted, folding itself like origami into the ceiling, revealing the true structure beneath, bone-white alloy, carbon-black wiring pulsing with intelligence. Below them stood Baba Yaga. She was no longer holding tea. She wore the same black cloak, the same silver braid, but her gloves were off now. Her hands, scarred, calloused, capable, were clasped lightly behind her back. Around her, the soldiers formed a wide arc silent. Still. Not menacing. Just present. Like gravity. Are you comfortable? She asked, gazing upward. The insectoid delegate twitched. Is this judgment? No, she replied. Judgment assumes you could have known better. This is simply education. The gelatinous one trembled in its containment field. Why us? Because you're still here, she said. That's all it takes, really. Staying after the door opens. The xanthid cube rotated, scanning the shaft for escape vectors. It found none. What happens now? She walked forward slowly, boots echoing lightly on the engineered steel. The acoustics of the space were deliberate. Every step sounded like the approach of consequence. What happens now, she said, is that I speak and you listen. Not because I'm powerful, but because you were warned. We received no warning, the insectoid insisted, mandibles fluttering. She looked at him, and her voice dipped lower, quieter, darker. You were given kindness. You took it for submission. You were given silence. You took it for fear. You were given time. And you wasted it measuring our teeth while we were busy growing wings. She raised one hand. A screen unfolded beside her like a floating page. It displayed Earth. Not a weapon. Not a fleet. Just Earth. Green and blue, soft clouds, harsh oceans. And zooming in, villages. Cities. The endless churn of a species building, destroying, and rebuilding again. What you never asked, she said, was what kind of species spends most of its time in peacetime preparing for war. The screen shifted, soldiers training in silence. Children in classrooms, reading alien anatomy. Drones farming. Engineers mining asteroids labeled as uninhabitable decades ago. You never asked why our culture has 1,000 words for deception, but only one word for mercy. The gelatinous one whispered, "What is it?" She met his many eyes. Silence. The screen changed again. Now it showed a feed from one of the planets above which the human fleet hovered. Alien civilians watched the sky. No weapons fell. No fires rained. Just shadows. 120,000 ships blotting out the stars in perfect coordination. "Why haven't you destroyed us?" the Xanthid asked. "You have the capability." "Of course," she said. "But capability is not purpose. You taught us that when you came to our colonies and demonstrated how power becomes cruelty without memory." The insectoid twitched. "Then what is your purpose now?" "To remind you," she said, "that memory is not weakness. It is the sharpest blade we own." The shaft began to descend. Slowly. The delegates remained suspended, lowered like thoughts into the darker part of understanding. They reached a lower chamber, vast, circular, and utterly quiet. Here, no soldiers waited. No weapons gleamed. Only books. Thousands of them, arranged in spiraling shelves. "This is our war archive," Baba Yaga said. "You assumed it would be fire and steel. But this is what we keep close." The Xanthid blinked rapidly. These are histories?" "No," she said. "These are names." She gestured to one wall. A spotlight moved, revealing handwritten entries. Each name dated, each with a cause. Not death. Silence. A refugee child denied transport. A ship whose emergency call was rerouted into a dead frequency. A medical unit ignored due to Alliance hierarchy. "These are not casualties," the gelatinous one whispered. "No," she said. "These are reasons." She walked slowly past the shelves, trailing a finger across the names. Her touch wasn't reverent. It was intimate. "We didn't build fleets to conquer. We built them because you thought diplomacy was delay. You thought we'd sit on our heels while you drew maps with our bones." The chamber lights flickered, and another wall of screens came alive, this time showing human operatives embedded throughout alien societies. Not spies. Not saboteurs. Observers. They were teachers. Janitors. Healers. Quiet presences in irrelevant places. "Until now. We never wanted dominion," she said. "We wanted respect. You called that weakness. So we redefined the scale." The insectoid finally looked at her, not with defiance, but awe. "You waited decades for this moment." She nodded. "And in the waiting, we learned patience so deep, it changed us. We stopped reacting. We started designing." "You've become architects," the cube said. She smiled. "We always were." The lights dimmed. Then, above, the original council chamber lit up again on a screen. Empty now. And slowly filling with something. Water. Clean, blue, placid. Rising from the seams. Quiet. "Why water?" the gelatinous one asked. "To cleanse," she said. "Not the room. The memory." The shaft began to rise again. Not fast, but certainly. "You've made your mistake," she said. "But you're still alive. That makes you rare." The Xanthid floated silently, rotating toward her. "Then we are allowed to leave?" She stepped back into the center of the rising floor. "That depends," she said. "On what?" She turned to face them all. "On whether you can carry silence the way we did." The shaft reached the upper chamber. The water had risen to knee-height. It shimmered around their suspended forms like a question. "Will you speak of this?" she asked them. They didn't answer. She tilted her head. "I hope you do," she said. "But not to warn. To wonder." She turned. The door behind her opened. The human soldiers were gone. She was alone again. Baba Yaga stepped out into the corridor, her boots making no sound. The delegates were lowered gently into the water, still unharmed. And the last thing they saw before the door sealed them inside again was a message, etched in the metal frame of the threshold. "You should have asked why we were so quiet."